tonight will be the work of the Commission on ensuring that appropriate standards of care are followed in private homes, as well as in government-managed facilities. Homeless. Mr. Speaker, in 2012, the night shelter continued to be a point of reference for approximately 200 homeless persons every day, providing them with accommodation, meals, and medical assistance. This facility will continue its operations in 2013. This year, Mr. Speaker, an amount of $54 million has been provided to complete and operationalize the Center for Rehabilitation and Reintegration at Envelope for the benefit of 180 indigenous communities. Mr. Speaker, our government's uncompromising position is that every single Guyanese citizen must have access to the same opportunities, irrespective of to this end, our aim is to ensure that the economies of Amerindian villages are put on a more sustainable path, and that improved social services are delivered to their communities. The year 2012 saw the continuation of land titles being issued, while an amount of $160 million was approved for community development interventions in the area of ecotourism, provision of agricultural tools, provision of means of transportation, and establishment of village offices. Collectively, these are expected to improve agricultural productivity, communication, and governance. Under the National Internet Secure Livelihood Program, $4.4 million was expended to support agricultural, aquaculture, and beekeeping projects to the benefit of 241 farmers living in 50 different communities. In addition, 362 students benefited from the Hinterland Scholarship Program, and 62 students graduated from secondary institutions. Mr. Speaker, in 2013, our government will continue efforts to advance development in all our Amerindian communities. To this end, the sum of $77.9 million has been allocated to the Land Titling and Demarcation Program, with a view to completing the title of all eligible villages at the end of the year. In addition, work will continue on the development of community development plans with the expectation of commencing implementation of 180 of them. Some $350 million is provided to finance the implementation of these plans. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, under the Hinterland Scholarships Program, $66 million has been allocated to the benefit of 380 students. In addition, as already indicated, a sum of $200 million has been allocated to support an Amerindian youth entrepreneurship apprenticeships, and a further sum of $500 million to roll out the OLPF to other vulnerable groups. Mr. Speaker, our government's commitment to improve the livelihoods of the most vulnerable citizens of our country is further reflected in the continued emphasis which was placed on the public assistance program throughout 2012. Disadvantaged individuals benefited from monthly support countrywide. This program will continue in 2013. Mr. Speaker, there is no more effective way to assist the vulnerable than to help them secure the independence of gainful employment. For this reason, in addition to the various training programs conducted by government, we also seek to match persons seeking employment with potential employers seeking staff to recruit. In this regard, over the course of 2012, some 2,912 new registrants were added to the Central Recruitment and Manpower Agency's system in order to be considered for employment. A total of 3,623 individuals were interviewed, and through the support of this agency, 2,945 unemployed persons successfully aid replacement. In 2013, a substantial effort will be made to further strengthen this agency to create an effective labour market clearinghouse with which job seekers can register their interest in finding employment, employers register their recruitment needs, and the agency perform a proactive matching service. Efforts will also be made to decentralize the services of the agency, especially by the use of technology. For this purpose, an amount of $52 million has been provided in the budget to strengthen this agency and also to promote its capacity to ensure equal opportunity for all in the labour market, enhancing security and justice. Public safety and security. Mr. Speaker, government has embarked on a comprehensive program of reform to the security sector. Government sees this as a long-term process and has designed a strategy which articulates a holistic approach to citizen security and safety and public welfare. The strategy focuses on key areas dealing with developing and strengthening administrative competency, improving professionalism, strengthening accountability and integrity, deepening interagency and interorganizational linkages with greater cohesiveness and impact, expanding on safe neighborhood pilots, and establishing houses of justice to allow for greater people participation and involvement in public safety and security issues. In 2012, $16.4 billion was expended for the continued development and modernization of the sector. In this regard, 5-year strategic plans were completed for the Ministry of Home Affairs, Police and Prisons, and now guide the priorities of these agencies. With a view to ensuring that the operational capacity of the joint services is continuously improved and to complement the efforts of modernization, $822.7 million was spent in 2012 on the acquisition and maintenance of essential security-related equipment. To support the operationalizing of the integrated crime information system and improve our capacity to collect and analyze crime statistics, 18 police stations in regions 4 and 6 were equipped with computers and connected to force headquarters. Crime information can now be compiled electronically on a daily basis and shared with force leadership, thus enhancing planning and use of resources. In addition, new fire stations in Diamond and Mahika were completed to provide firefighting capabilities for the Upper East Bank and Upper East Coast Demerara areas. Construction continued on the fire service training facility at Leonora and on the Guyana Forensic Science Laboratory. Substantial emphasis was placed on training on joint services ranks, both locally and overseas. Mr. Speaker, 2013 will see the continuation of government's heightened focus on security. Specific interventions will be made to enhance citizen confidence in the law enforcement system. More police presence will be provided, and better trained professionals with greater attention to accountability will be the norm, particularly because this aspect of performance will be monitored closely to ensure standards are met. There will also be a more intense collaboration between and among the agencies of the joint services to ensure maintenance of security and stability. Further, the implementation of the 3 strategic plans will allow for more effective prioritization and the use of the sum of $17.5 billion allocated to the sector. Focus will be placed on enhancing physical infrastructure, providing air, land, and water transport and equipment for the sector to discharge its mandate effectively. With regards to the fight against drugs and piracy, the maritime sector will benefit from greater physical presence of maritime forces with the operationalizing of floating bases in regions 2 and 6. In support of further advancing the capabilities of the safety and security personnel, ranks of the police from the level of constable to assistant commissioner will benefit from mandatory overseas training. While fire service personnel will benefit from the new training school. Furthermore, the Guyana Forensic Laboratory will be completed and is expected to become operational in the latter part of the year. This new state-of-the-art laboratory will make a significant impact by providing sound scientific basis for investigations and expert testimony to support the adjudication of cases. Mr. Speaker, crime and security are a global concern, and Guyana continues to play a principal role internationally in fighting crime. Yes. Our bilateral and multilateral efforts are mutually beneficial as Guyana supports the global campaign against drugs, money laundering, corruption, terrorism, and the illegal arms trade. Our relationships with our bilateral and multilateral partners in the global campaign against crime and violence have provided conclusive evidence of how valuable our contributions are regarded. Justice. Mr. Speaker, as part of government's commitment to build an enabling environment for accelerated development in Guyana, significant focus continues to be placed on strengthening the effectiveness and efficiency of delivery of services in the justice sector. To this end, $2 billion was expended in 2012 by the sector, including on modernizing and upgrading both the physical and institutional aspects of the judicial system. In relation to physical infrastructure, during 2012, over $256 million was expended for the rehabilitation of magistrates' courts in Georgetown, Wim, Maimacuri, Sisters Village, and Amsterdam, along with maintenance works at the Court of Appeal, the High Court, and the High Court registries in Georgetown and Maurice. The use of technology was introduced in the courtroom with the first instance of evidence being taken from a witness by video conference. On the institutional front, the capacity of the judiciary was enhanced by increasing the complement of judges. Efforts were directed towards the continued revision of the laws of Guyana up to 2010. The publication of the Guyana Law Reports for the period 1930 to 2007, and the upgrade of library collections. Further, a computerized management information system for case-related information was fully operationalized, linking the Georgetown and New Amsterdam High Court registries. This allows for more timely access to case status and case decisions. Mr. Speaker, in 2013, focus will be placed on consolidating improvements in the operations of the justice system. The criminal justice system will benefit from attention paid to coordination and collaboration among relevant agencies. More judges, better trained police prosecutors, increased capacity and expansion of the office of the DPP into the administrative regions and better resourced magisterial districts all have the potential of significantly improving the functioning of the criminal justice system. Building on the gains already made, the sum of $2.1 billion has been allocated to the sector. With regards to physical infrastructure, construction works, magistrates' courts in Wales, Lesser, and Linden are expected to be completed during the first half of this year. The recently completed mediation center in New Amsterdam is expected to become fully operational before the end of the year. In addition, the family court will be brought into operation. Furthermore, the revision of the laws of Guyana to 2010 will be completed. In addition, Mr. Speaker, on top of the over 8,000 backlogged cases that were cleared from the system last year, a further 1,000 cases are expected to be cleared. With a view to improving the general public's access to case information, the Supreme Court will also be launching a website during the second half of the year to include listings, status of cases, hearing dates, and completion dates for all cases pertaining to the bail, commercial, family, and constitutional courts, and chambers applications. Foreign relations. Mr. Speaker, our government remains committed to the safeguarding of Guyana's sovereign and territorial integrity and the maintenance of strong relations with our neighbours. Areas of focus continue to be trade facilitation and investment, external trade negotiations and implementation, as well as capacity building and institutional strength. Pursuant to safeguarding our territorial priorities and following Guyana's submission in 2011 to the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf, an oral presentation was made in April 2012 and a subcommission constituted to consider the data and information provided by Guyana. We now await the outcomes of those considerations. Also in 2012, there was sustained dialogue with our immediate neighbors, Brazil, Suriname, and Venezuela, as we sought to consolidate efforts to achieve well-defined programs in cooperation with them. We will continue to work with these countries to advance current initiatives and to identify additional areas for further strengthening relations. Government will also continue to consolidate relations with countries with whom Guyana has had traditional ties, while fostering the development of new strategic alliances. Mr. Speaker, Guyana remained an ardent advocate of the merits of Caribbean integration and is actively involved in every aspect of the Caribbean integration enterprise. In 2012, the CSME project focused on deepening the requisite administrative reforms and institutional capacity building relating to practices, procedures, and standards to deliver the rights conferred under the revised treaty to community nationals within the CSME. 2013, we will continue to give full support to CARICOM to restructure the Secretariat, consolidate the single market, in particular those provisions and procedures which relate to the free movement of people, transportation, as well as to the region's priority concerns of food and energy security and sustainable development. Guyana will advance at the national level with respect to the harmonization of the single market's regulatory framework, the installation of administrative reforms through implementation of national work plans, and the drafting of model regulations for the 5 CSME regimes. We will also pursue our engagement within the wider regional integration mechanisms. In particular, we will remain active participants in UNASUR and CELAC. Mr. Speaker, finally, we continue to take proactive steps to keep the Guyanese diaspora engaged. To this end, the Guyana Diaspora Project seeks to mobilize the valuable human resource that constitutes the diaspora by documenting skills, resources, and the return interests and plans of those willing to support the national development agenda. This will, in time, result in a more structured engagement with our overseas-based Guyanese community. Other institutional reforms, financial sector reform. Mr. Speaker, a strong and stable, well-regulated and well-managed financial system is critical to the economic well-being of our country. Our aim is to continue to ensure that the financial system is governed by an adequate regulatory framework and that it adheres to relevant standards to preserve the objectives of stability and strength by promoting universal access to financial services. To these ends, the commercial banking subsector continues to expand with growth in all key indicators, including, as previously reported, private sector credit. Coverage also improved with expansion in branch networks in recognition of the growth and vibrancy of new and emerging commercial centers. In 2012, new bank branches were opened in Charity and Monrepo, and new services introduced, including internet banking. Still on the subject of access, Mr. Speaker, a recent innovation by the private sector to introduce the facility of making payments using cellular telephones has the potential to improve access to financial services and reduce cash utilization in the economy. Such use of technology has the potential to bring financial services to persons, especially in on-banked and under-banked communities, including the hinterland. While this innovation and use of technology in the delivery of financial services is welcome, its regulatory implications will also need to be examined closely, and any appropriate regulatory prerequisites put in place. Access to financial services, and in particular access to credit will receive a significant fillip with the imminent licensing and establishment of a credit bureau in Guyana, work on which is considerably advanced. Mr. Speaker, in the insurance sector, progress continues to be made in resolving the domestic chapter of the Quico debacle. At the end of last month, amounts totaling $4.4 billion were paid out to 8,634 policyholders, up to a maximum of $30 million policyholder, as a result of which virtually all policyholders have now been paid in full. The liquidator intends to continue to garner additional resources through sale of company assets and legal action, including in relation to other companies in the Quico group outside Guyana. Work has also commenced on the drafting of a revised Insurance Act and a new Pensions Act to further strengthen the regulatory framework governing this subsector. Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, sugar production is targeted at 240,000 tons, 10.1% above 2012 levels of production. While this target is somewhat lower than the industry's original projection of 260,709 tons for the year, its achievement will still require diligent application and management across the industry throughout the year. The rice industry is expected to continue along its growth path as the benefits of investment in capacity and improved yields and management practices continue to accrue to the sector. As a result, the industry is projected to record a production level of 440,106 tons, equivalent to 43% growth over the recorded performance in 2012. The livestock industry is projected to moderate to 4% growth in 2013, having adjusted to the surge in demand last year. On the other hand, the forestry sector is projected to decline by 5.6% as the industry continues to adjust to strengthen monitoring and enforcement activities. The fishing industry is estimated to expand by 2%, sustained by guaranteed domestic and export markets for our seafood products. Industry. Mr. Speaker, the mining and quarrying sector is projected to grow by a further 3% in 2013. Expectedly, the sector's growth will continue to be led by gold, with ongoing favorable outlook for prices and production targeted at 450,031 ounces, representing a 2.6% expansion in output. Mr. Speaker, value added in the bauxite industry is projected to grow by 6.5%, mainly due to increased production in the higher grades of product. The manufacturing sector is projected to record a stronger growth performance of 4.4% in 2013, based on targeted recovery in sugar and continued strong performance in rice. Mr. Speaker, the services sector has been growing steadily and has been making an increasing contribution to our overall economic performance in recent years. The information and communication sector is projected to expand by 4.5% as businesses continue to embrace and take advantage of the latest digital technology, while the construction industry is targeted to grow by 10%, spurred by continued growth in private sector housing construction and by key projects in the public sector investment program entering the construction phase. The continued expansion of the transportation and storage industry is a prerequisite for improved efficiency of operations of most sectors. And following on last year's exceptional performance, the sector is projected to expand by 7.8% in 2013. With private sector construction continuing to grow, rental of dwellings will be the direct beneficiary and is projected to grow by 4%. Electricity and water, education and health and social services are projected to grow by 3.5, that should read, Mr. Speaker. Electricity and water, education, and health and social services are projected to grow by 4, 3.5, and 4.4% respectively, while other services are projected to grow by 8%. Monetary policy and inflation. Mr. Speaker, monetary policy will continue to be aimed at price and exchange rate stability and expansion in credit to the private sector. For the year 2013, an inflation rate of 4.3% is targeted, mainly reflecting imported commodity price movements. Balance of payments. Mr. Speaker, the overall balance of payments is expected to register a higher surplus in 2013, amounting to $57.6 million compared to $12.4 million in 2012. The current account deficit is expected to expand to $451.9 million, mainly attributed to projected higher import bill associated with greater local demand, negating the gains in export earnings due to a combination of higher export volume and prices of the main export commodities. Capital account is expected to record a higher surplus of $509.5 million, mainly due to higher inflows of foreign direct investment, concentrated mainly in the mining, energy, and communication sectors. Targets for the non-financial public sector. Central government operation. Total central government current revenue, net of GRIF inflows, is estimated at $142.8 billion, an increase of 10.3%. This outturn is mainly attributed to a 6.3% increase in tax collections by the Gambia Revenue Authority to $125.7 billion. Internal revenue collections are projected at $50.4 billion, 3.8% above 2012 revenues, primarily due to projected increased payments from private sector companies and the self-employed. Value-added and excise taxes are estimated at $61.3 billion, a 7.7% increase consistent with the higher demand for commodities, while customs and trade taxes are projected to expand by 9.1% to $14 billion, again consistent with higher import levels. Mr. Speaker, total expenditure is estimated at $205.1 billion, a 19.7% increase over 2012. Capital expenditures projected to expand by over 50% in 2013 to $85.7 billion, primarily associated with advancement of key infrastructure projects and investments earmarked for the power sector. Principally, Mr. Speaker, investments in GPL and government's equity contribution to the Omaila Falls hydropower project. Non-interest current expenditures projected to expand by 3.8% to $112.5 billion, underlying which are increased allocations to the social sector in particular. Mr. Speaker, the overall fiscal deficit of the central government is targeted at $29.1 billion, equivalent to 4.6% of GDP, compared to 4.7% in 2012. Mr. Speaker, the size of budget 2013 is $208.8 billion. And I hasten to add, Mr. Speaker, that this represents Guyana's largest. Summary operations of the public enterprise. Receipts of the public enterprises, Mr. Speaker. Receipts of the public enterprises, Mr. Speaker, are projected to expand by 3.5% to $140 billion, primarily attributed to higher receipts of Gaisupo, consistent with higher production levels, while total expenditures projected to expand by 4% to $138.9 billion. Based on these developments, an overall surplus of $1 billion is projected to be generated by enterprises in 2030. operations of the non-financial public sector. Mr. Speaker, the deficit of the non-financial public sector is targeted to decline to 4.4% of GDP, compared to 4.5% in 2012, and amounting in nominal terms to $28 billion. Measures. Mr. Speaker, the projected reduction in the fiscal deficit as a percent of GDP to which I just referred is in keeping with our government's fiscal consolidation and debt sustainability objectives. Put simply, these objectives are aimed at ensuring that we do not consume today at a level that will leave the next generation of Guyanese with an unsustainable obligation to pay. Nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, Budget 2010 contains the following measures, which I now wish to announce. Budget 2013, rather. Nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, Budget 2030 contains the following measures, which I now wish to announce. Support to the sugar industry. Mr. Speaker, our government's position on the sugar industry is clear and unequivocal. The industry is still of sufficient systemic importance to the national economy and to the livelihoods of so many rural communities, and has such deep linkages with suppliers and distributors nationwide that no effort must be spared to ensure its long-term viability. Over the years, Mr. Speaker, government has injected a total of $39.5 billion to recapitalize the industry and to support its operations. As recently as last year, government provided a transfer of $4 billion to ensure that Gaisuco was able to meet its financing requirements. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to announce that this year, in support of the company's plans to modernize the industry, Budget 2013 provides an amount of $1 billion to be transferred by government to Gaisuco to help the company meet the financing requirements of the transformation plans. This support by government to the sugar industry will redound to the benefit of the industry's 18,000 workers, their families, and suppliers of goods and services to the company countrywide. Together, Mr. Speaker, more than 120,000 persons will benefit directly or indirectly. Support to the Guyana Power and Lighting. Mr. Speaker, in like manner, it was pointed out that GPL last raised. Mr. Speaker, in like manner, it was pointed out that GPL last raised electricity tariffs in 2007, when fuel prices were a fraction of what they are today. The escalation in fuel costs have been borne by GPL in the absence of tariff increases, placing tremendous pressure on the cash flows of the company. For this reason, it was necessary last year for government to inject a transfer of $6 billion into GPL. Those circumstances, Mr. Speaker, remain substantially unchanged. Budget 2013 therefore provides operating and capital transfers to GPL totaling $5.8 billion to support that company in meeting its cash flow $29,801 per electricity customer per annum, or $23,370 per month. We continue, Mr. Speaker, to urge timely completion of the committee's deliberations so that this matter can be brought to conclusion. Old age pensions. Mr. Speaker, this government has steadily increased the non-contributory old age pensions paid as a supportive supplement to persons over the age of 65 years. The monthly pension has been increased annually from $3,500 in 2006 to $10,000 last year. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to announce that Budget 2013 provides for the old age pension to be increased to $12,500. An increase of 35%. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, Budget 2013 provides for the old age pension to be increased from $10,000 per month to $12,500. A 25% increase. A 25% increase with effect from 1st of May 2013. Mr. Speaker, the annual impact of this increase will result in an additional 1.3 old age pensioners electricity assistance program. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the old age pension we pay every month to our senior citizens, government also spends in excess of $200 million annually assisting our senior citizens to pay the water charges they incur at the Guyana Water Institute. I am now pleased to announce that with effect from 2013, government will make a contribution to help each old age pensioner who is a customer of GPL meet the electricity charges they incur with that company. In this regard, government will provide each old age pensioner with assistance of up to $20,000 per annum. Mr. Speaker, this assistance will reduce electricity charges. This assistance will reduce electricity charges that will have to be paid by each pensioner who is a GPL customer, and will have the effect of increasing the disposable income of our senior citizen population by a further $590 million per annum. National Insurance Scheme. Mr. Speaker, the challenges faced by the National Insurance Scheme are well known. For some time, actuarial recommendations have been before those charged with administering the scheme. The dilemma has been the balance that needs to be struck between addressing the deficiencies of the scheme while minimizing the impact on workers and their employers. Although there is no doubt that administrative measures might help to improve the financial position of the scheme, these could not possibly remedy in fullness the structural deficiency. The reality has been growing benefits, a beneficial population that is aging and therefore in receipt of pensions and other benefits for more years than were anticipated at the time they commenced participation in the scheme, and a contributing population that has not been growing as rapidly as it should, especially amongst the self-employed. The reality is equally that it would be difficult to devise a lasting solution to the challenges faced by the scheme without confronting the need for an increase in the contribution rate. Mr. Speaker, I therefore wish to announce that with effect from June 1, 2013, the contribution rate for both employed and self-employed contributors will be increased by 1 percentage point. This will generate additional revenue for the NIS of approximately $890 million per annum. Mr. Speaker, in order to ensure that the vulnerable feel no impact as a result of this increase, I wish to further announce that government will meet both the employers' and the employees' share of the increase in contribution payable with respect to all employed persons whose income is not more than $50,000 per month. This initiative will cost the government approximately $250 million per annum and will benefit 58,300 contributors. The first $7.5 billion of net property is taxed at 0%. The next $5 billion of net property is taxed at 0.5%. And the remainder of net property is taxed at 0.75%. I now wish to announce that with effect from year of assessment 2014, individuals will be charged at the following rates. The first $40 million of net property will be taxed at 0%. And the remainder of net property will be taxed at 0.75%. In other words, Mr. Speaker, whereas the current tax-free threshold for property tax on individuals is $7.5 million, the new threshold will be $40 million. As a result of which, tens of thousands of low and middle income earners with net property below $40 million will no longer be subject to property tax. As with companies, valuation date for the purposes of the property tax will be revised from January 1, 1991 to January 1, 2011. Mortgage interest relief. Mr. Speaker, this government's housing program has been a resounding success and has resulted in tens of thousands of Guyanese individuals and families graduating from being tenants of rented property to being homeowners in their own right. Armed with real property as an asset which in turn can be collateralized. The positive consequences for owner participation in the formal financial system and owner capacity to borrow to finance asset acquisition or even small business establishment and expansion are the holders of mortgage loans of up to $30 million granted to them by commercial banks or the building society will be permitted to deduct the interest they pay on such mortgages. First, I will repeat, Mr. Speaker. First-time homeowners who are holders of mortgage loans of up to $30 million granted to them by commercial banks or the building society will be permitted to deduct the interest they pay on such mortgages from their taxable income for the purposes of personal income tax. In other words, Mr. Speaker, that portion of taxable income used by a first-time homeowner to pay interest on a housing loan of up to $30 million from a commercial bank or building society will be exempt from personal income tax. Mr. Speaker, this initiative will cost government approximately $580 million and will benefit tens of thousands of first-time homeowners, low and middle income alike. Personal income tax. Mr. Speaker, over the years, this government has sought to reduce progressively the share of tax revenue borne by the most vulnerable. This effort has seen the personal income tax threshold increased from $25,000 per month in 2006 to $50,000 per month in 2012. Most recently, as a result of last year's upward adjustment, 2013 builds on these gains It ensures the preservation and further improvement of the environment that is so critical to attracting investments and creating jobs. It includes policies and programs that will bring visible improvements to our physical infrastructure and our social services. It includes initiatives that will manifest themselves in a more modern Guyana and a more comfortable Guyanese people. Budget 2013 includes something for all Guyanese. The 4,500 old age pensioners who will receive a higher pension from May. The young professional who will repay her mortgage more quickly now because of the mortgage interest relief she will receive. The farmer who will produce more because of the affordable inputs he will now be able to access. The young, recently qualified doctor who will embark on an exciting new profession in the public health care system. The single mother who will access her first loan under the expanded WOW program, and so many others. With this budget, Mr. Speaker, this People's Progressive Party civic government takes yet another important step forward in facilitating development in our country and improving the lives of every Guyanese. It is this daily transformation of our country and an advancement of our people's well-being to which we in this House must rededicate ourselves as we consider Budget 2030. The question we must constantly ask ourselves is whether each decision we take will bring betterment to our country and its people. And our answer, Mr. Speaker, must always be motivated not by the perverse urge to demonstrate the sheer might of the vote we are already known to have, but by the much hunger obligation we owe to use that vote responsibly. Mr. Speaker, on that note, I commend the Budget 2013 to the National Assembly.
Patience and attentiveness to that speech, which, for those who reduced it, lasted 3 hours, 8 minutes. Honourable members, we have come to the end of our business for today. Before I invite the Honourable Prime Minister to move the appropriate motion for the adjournment, I formally announce that the motion is proposed for debate. That debate will commence. I don't know the whips have worked out the dates, but that date will be announced shortly. Well, however, before I invite Prime Minister to move the motion, invite members to make any comments as to the events that are coming in terms of Palma or Easter.